allow us to harness the wisdom of diverse perspectives, ensuring that NACAP 2 reflects the aspirations and the needs of all Ghanaians. In conclusion, Your Excellency, if we approach the evaluation of NACAP with a commitment to continuous improvement, together we will pave the way for a more transformative NACAP 2 that repositions our people for nation building. May God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Many thanks, Mr. Richard Kwesi. I mean, from your delivery, it's quite clear that NACAP was actually developed to align with standard global indicators, as well as local knowledge on corruption and other anti-corruption measures, basically on the premise that conventional anti-corruption approaches have actually not consistently yielded the anticipated result. And so to give us the global perspective on the evaluation of national anti-corruption action plans, we'll also take a remark from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime by its representative, Mr. Bernard Asamoah. Mr. Asamoah.
Thank you very much, Kwamina. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Honorable Chief of Staff, Justices of the Superior Court, Honorable Ministers present, Members of Parliament present, the Chair and Commissioners of STRAJ and other independent governance institutions, the government statistician, Professor Samuel Enim, whom we've worked closely on this process, the Deputy Commissioner of STRAJ, Mr. Richard Kwesi, whom I've personally had the opportunity to work on matters of anti-corruption for over 15 years. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, colleagues from United Nations here present, I wish to stand on the existing protocol already established by earlier speakers. On behalf of the Independent Evaluation Section of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, based in Vienna, that's our headquarters, the Executive Director of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, and the Regional Representative for West and Central Africa, Dr. Amadou Philip de Andres, allow me to express my gratitude to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, and the authorities of Ghana for the continuous collaboration in the implementation of the Government of Ghana UNODC National Integrated Program document to fight transnational organized crimes and to strengthen the criminal justice system of Ghana, and in particular, the fight against corruption. The Independent Evaluation Section conveys its regrets for not being here personally due to circumstances beyond the control of the team, and I have been tasked to represent the United Nations Office on Drugs and to deliver this speech. I would like to thank STRAJ also and the other organizers of this event for the opportunity to speak on the theme, International Perspectives on the Evaluation of National Anti-Corruption Plans, and the launch of the Independent Evaluation of National Anti-Corruption Action Plan for Ghana. Mr. President, corruption is a cross-cutting phenomenon that affects all sectors of the economy, and as the guardian of the UN Convention Against Corruption, UNODC stands committed to support member states in their quest to fight corruption. At this point, I would like to recall the worrying figures of corruption outlined by the UN Resident Coordinator for Ghana, Mr. Charles Abani, during the commemoration of the 2023 International Anti-Corruption Day, organized by STRAJ on December 8. He indicated, and I quote, the UN estimates that corruption cost the global economy around $3.6 billion annually, and that Africa lost $50 billion to illicit financial flows. Again, in a recent report launched by the UNODC on Sahel countries, it estimated illicit financial flows from illegal mining at $12 billion per annum. Your Excellency, it is against this background that the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice approached the Independent Evaluation Section of the UNODC to provide technical assistance to evaluate the Maiden National Anti-Corruption Action Plan of Ghana, to position Ghana to effectively fight corruption. To ensure ownership of the process, I wish to state that the team of evaluators will be both national and international experts. Your Excellency, evaluation and accountability are of specific interest in the context of the UN reforms led by the UN Secretary General and the 2030 Agenda. Member states have underscored in multiple resolutions the important role of evaluation in providing evidence-based services and products for decision-making and improved programming at both national and international levels. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, I would like to highlight that through respective UN resolutions, member states have requested United Nations entities to offer support in government-led evaluations. For example, through the exchange of experiences and knowledge from evaluations, as well as informing national voluntary reviews of the achievements of the Sustainable Development Goals. Your Excellency, in response to these resolutions, the UNODC, through its independent evaluation section, is providing on-demand support to member states for conducting their own evaluations. The independent evaluation section has provided technical guidance and support to member states on the use of internationally accepted and good practices, norms, and standards in evaluating interventions related to countering drug trafficking, organized crimes, terrorism, and corruption. As part of this support, the independent evaluation section has developed toolkits on international good practices, set out methodologies and approaches for evaluating interventions on these thematic areas. The most recent toolkit is on evaluating initiatives related to anti-corruption. Recently, the independent evaluation section of UNODC led an evaluation on UNODC's global program to prevent and combat corruption through effective implementation of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption in support of the Sustainable Development Goal 16. The toolkit on anti-corruption includes important lessons of this evaluation. In addition, the independent evaluation is currently supporting other governments like Mauritius in the evaluation of the National Drug Control Master Plan. The development and implementation of the current NACAP represents a significant progress in meeting the obligations of the UNCAC, and this demonstrates an example of best practice where an independent evaluation meets international standards. UNODC wishes to commend the government of Ghana on its commitment to engage in an independent evaluation of the NACAP. This evaluation is a good practice in understanding the achievements and challenges of the NACAP and will ensure accountability to the citizens of Ghana. Most importantly, the evaluation will offer lessons for the development of the next phase of the NACAP. In this regard, UNODC remains resolute to provide the required technical assistance in the process and support the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, along with the Ghana Statistics Service, in undertaking this important exercise. Your Excellency, permit me to reiterate that together we aim in managing and implementing this independent evaluation on addressing corruption in line with international evaluation norms, standards, and good practices. Applying these norms will facilitate the implementation of a utilization-focused, participatory, and high-quality evaluation process and results. In conclusion, I wish to thank you once again, Your Excellency, for the opportunity and look forward to collaborating on this independent evaluation of the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan for Ghana. I thank you for your attention.
Mr. Bernard Asamoah of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, many thanks for that insightful report. Well, the success of our launch today basically has been as a result of almost 10 years of hard work by several agencies and institutions to make the fight against corruption very possible. The lead evaluating agency is the Ghana Statistical Service. And with that said, shall we welcome government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobina-Enim.
Thank you.
Your Excellency, distinguished statesmen, special guests, good morning. Your Excellency, I associate with a very well articulated acknowledgement of the dignitaries that are gathered here, and with your permission, I would want to proceed on that account. Your Excellency, it is indeed a personal delight for myself as government statistician, more broadly for the management, board, and the entire staff of the Ghana Statistical Service to be associated with this exercise. Your Excellency, the reason for our excitement is that this exercise is giving us an opportunity to demystify the knowledge that the Statistical Service work is limited to the production of statistics, specifically a couple of macroeconomic statistics, that is inflation and GDP. Indeed, the mandate of the service goes beyond the production of statistics, and in recent times we are injecting efforts to ensure that the data stewardship part of our responsibility is enhanced. This mandate given to the Statistical Service to evaluate the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan indeed gives us a platform to work with CHRAJ and other state institutions on how to use statistics to evaluate national activities. I would want to mention that this is a testimony of the current exercise of the National Statistics Advisory Committee in promoting a data revolution agenda in the year 2024 to ensure that we use statistics in its right way. Your Excellency, my work in the next 10 minutes is to share with you the reflection of the evaluation team on the scope of this evaluation exercise and how we intend executing it. I want to begin with some background understanding of the objectives that we've redefined for this exercise. Your Excellency, as I indicated, and as my colleague from CHRAJ also indicated, we need to complete the cycle of any policy or any strategy. And the only way you can complete that cycle is when you effectively connect plans, connect laws, and more importantly, statistics. And that is the role of the Ghana Statistical Service. Distinguished statesmen, the other thing that my colleague from CHRAJ did indicate that while we look forward to confirming some of the issues that have come up in their annual progress report, this evaluation exercise is going to give us an opportunity not to only confirm, but to say that what are the things that we left out, what are the external issues that possibly influence the evaluation exercise. The third thing that we seek to do in this evaluation exercise is to provide a reassessment of the thinking that went into the NACAP when it was first conceived in 2009. Your Excellency, one of the things we're going to do is not to focus only on the implementation phase, that is specifically 2015 to 2024, but go to when we conceived it in 2009 and avenues of corruption that opened up and as well closed up between 2009 and 2015 when the implementation stage started. Your Excellency, the essence of this launch for us as an evaluation team is not for us to look at NACAP only from the perspective of the implementing institutions, but use this opportunity to deepen collective interest and, more importantly, mobilize national efforts in this regard. Your Excellency, to give a sense of how we're going to do the evaluation, one of the tips that we're giving ahead of it is during the evaluation, when we go to the respective institutions, we're going to seek for their records to see when our respective institutions took delivery of the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan. Indeed, it is this document that gives the Ghana Statistical Service, and for that matter, the country, the mandate to do this exercise. I'll highlight a few areas in this National Anti-Corruption Action Plan to support this evaluation exercise. Specifically, pages 51 and 52 of the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan, Your Excellency, it states categorically that to guarantee efficiency and effectiveness, a number of things should happen ahead of this final evaluation, one of which includes the collection of baseline data ahead of the implementation phase in 2015, and subsequently conduct series of evaluations at the end of the short term, at the end of the medium term, and ahead of the final evaluation which we are having its launch today. Your Excellency, one of the things that it did it does indicate in the action plan is that there should be ad hoc reports, and my colleague from Charge did mention that. I would want to also mention that, Your Excellency, the Statistical Service in 2022 came up with this report, which the Deputy Commissioner highlighted in his delivery. Your Excellency, in this report, the Ghana Statistical Service put to the nation that over 25%, that is more than a quarter of our population, have experienced the payment of bribe, conditioned on having a contact with public official. This document also a year ago did put out the statistics that we are losing about 5 billion Ghana cedis to corruption. Your Excellency, what we want to seek from this evaluation is not just to tick the box that Ghana Statistical Service, and for that matter, Ghana has done this exercise, but really go into the details and find out from the respective institutions the practical interventions that they've put in place to reduce the 26% of persons that have experienced the payment of bribe. I move on to our reflections on how this exercise will be done. Your Excellency, as was indicated by my colleague from UNODC, we are mindful of international best practices. So this evaluation is going to adapt a framework from the OECD that points on 7 pillars for conducting an evaluation exercise. Quickly, these 7 pillars looks at issues around relevance, where we would ask the question whether over the 10-year period as a country we've been doing the right thing. More importantly, because we don't want this evaluation document to put out interventions that are inconsistent with other interventions. The second area we look at is issues around coherence. The third and fourth issues, which is pretty obvious to us in every evaluation exercise, surrounds issues of efficiency and effectiveness. Your Excellency, these 4 areas of the evaluation exercise are pretty straightforward and largely will be obtained from the annual progress report. Indeed, the 3 areas is where we're going to put a lot of emphasis, and this starts with all these plans that we've put out there, with the survey that we've put out there, do we see behavioral change? And this is what the impact dimension of the 7 pillars will look at. Your Excellency, the 6th area will look at issues around sustainability and whether the interventions that we've put forward going forward will stand the test of time. Finally, we're going to look at issues around human rights and inclusivity in terms of how we've been able to onboard the vulnerable, especially persons with difficulty in performing activities. Your Excellency, during the pre-launch of this event, as was indicated, the UNRC did draw our attention to the fact that the corruption that we see in our country could have a dimension of transnational corruption. So we would make efforts to ensure that the evaluation exercise is not restricted to what happens within the boundaries of the country, but try and pick up corruption that emanates from a transnational perspective. Your Excellency, indeed, we are deeply delighted that you've joined us in this launch. The reason being that the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan has identified 15 different state institutions. Obviously, with the 3 arms of government involved, that is the executive, parliament, and judiciary, we will need the buy-in of these 3 arms of government for the data collection activities to ensure that each arm of government is implementing or made an attempt to implement the tenets of the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan. We would also want to emphasize, Your Excellency, that this exercise, as was rightly indicated, was conceived in 2009, and the implementation phase is up to 2024. It is not a political activity, Your Excellency. It is a development intervention, and we want all persons in Ghana to know that this exercise is not coming to evaluate one political party, what it did during its regime as against another political party, but given that it's a 10-year period, and more importantly, it started in 2009 up to 2014, giving it a 14-year period, we're going to look at the evaluation over this period. On this account, we're going to speak to the diverse political parties that we have, speak to development partners, speak to all persons, that is the citizenry, the unions that we have, the traditional authorities and religious institutions. Given this diversity of institutions and stakeholders that we're going to speak to, the exercise would entail having questionnaires sent to over 400 stakeholders, doing semi-structured interviews with 100 selected purposively for thematic interviews and do focus group discussions with our civil society organizations, political parties, and the general public. To give credence to the exercise, Your Excellency, as was indicated, it is the mandate of the service to do data stewardship. So it is the mandate of Ghana Statistical Service to lead this exercise, and we will plead with you, Your Excellency, that this would be escalated to all our national policies so that evaluations are done by independent